Thank you so much for your order. Now I'm going to show you what's inside and how to prepare your special meal. So this is our langoustine and steak box. I'm just going to show you what's inside. So the first thing you want to find in your box is the instructions for your box. On the front we have our lovely lobster logo with our Heart at Home. On the back of that you'll find your instruction sheet. There's a QR code here. Now if you scan it with your phone you'll be taken to the website where you'll find your instructions for your box. Below we have our preparation date and our use by. Now this use by is very important as we use fresh shellfish. Below we have our ingredient list with our allergens in bold. You can also access all this information on our website. First off, you'll find yourself a couple of ice packs. This is keeping your produce lovely and chilled during the courier service. You'll find a kilogram of our lovely Scottish smoked langoustines. We smoked that with oak wood. So you'll find a kilogram of that in your box, served with our miso butter. Second part to this box is our steak. So we have our 32-day dry-aged beef that's been grass-fed, and this is a ribeye. You have your butter and your beef seasoning for the cooking process of the steak, along with our XO sauce to be served with the steak. And then the sides for the steak, we have our Scottish tender stem broccoli, with our seasoning to be for the broccoli for cooking, and our smoked mayonnaise to be served with. And finally, our seaweed potatoes. So that is our langoustine and steak box. Now I've shown you what's inside the box, we're going to go over a couple of simple steps to show you how I would prepare the meal. So the first job we're going to need to do is preheat the oven to 200 Celsius. Now if you do have a fan setting, I'd recommend use it. If not, it's not a problem. So now I'm going to show you how to prepare the potatoes. Take a pair of scissors, open your bag nice and carefully, pop them onto a nice oven tray. Take your butter into a few knobs. As simple as that. We're going to put it into our oven that's preheated at 200 Celsius for 30 minutes. So we're just going to leave that for 30 minutes and come back to it. So now I'm going to show you the miso butter. It's very simple. All you need for this step is a small saucepan, a whisk, and a small spoon. Quickly take your pan, a few tablespoons of water in there, just a very quick little splash. And we want to put that onto a medium temperature. The reason we don't go too high is if it's too hot, the butter is going to split out. If it's too cold, it's not going to melt. Take your butter sauce and your spoon and just kind of scrape it on the sides to kind of ease it out of the tub. Now we can see there's a little bit of steam coming from the pot. It's not boiling either, it's just hot. All we do is simply take a small piece of the butter to start with, place it inside the water, and we want to whisk. We want to make sure we're whisking at all times. The reason for this is we want to emulsify it. Now if we don't whisk, what's going to happen is the fats and the liquids are going to separate. So now we've started the base here. You can see the base is coming together. We can place the rest of the butter into the pot, like so. And again, whisk. Now keeping on that medium heat number 6, if you've got gas, you want to go dead center so you're not high, low, right in the middle. And at this point you'll see all the butter has dissolved. It's nice and creamy, and that's it. Simple as that. That's our miso butter sauce. Now what I do is place this aside, take it off the heat, and just leave it aside until the shellfish is ready that we're going to pour. Now I'm going to show you how to prepare your langoustines with miso butter. We've already prepared the miso butter. Now we're going to take the langoustines. So the langoustines come pre-cooked, set like this. This has been slightly smoked. For this part we're going to need a sharp knife, a teaspoon, a small pot to discard the insides, and a tray for the oven. Okay, so quite simply, take your langoustine, pop your claws forward, separate them, and lay your tail flat. Now the head, just behind the eyes, place your knife tip in and push down. Now we're going to push all the way through. That's one side done. Now we're going to turn the langoustine around to the tail end. And from that first cut, we're going to run our knife, push down in, and all the way down the langoustine. It does need a little bit of force, and that Now we've halved our langoustine completely. Now we take our teaspoon and a small pot. Now up where you'd imagine where the brain is not the brain, it's the stomach. So we want to discard that area. So with the teaspoon, scoop that area out, pop into a bowl. This we'll just put straight into the bin. Also with a spoon, if you look down the tail, you'll see a little brown mark. That's the kind of excrement tube. We want to discard that also. So simple as that, we've halved the langoustine, we've taken the stomach out, and the excrement, we've taken that out as well. And as simple as that, we put onto our tray. Now, we'll keep prepping these. The langoustine or lobster contains something called a tamale. So tamale is actually the pancreas. It's considered a delicacy, and it is a delicacy. It's absolutely beautiful. We don't seem to be having any luck today with these ones. However, if you were to receive your langoustines and there is a kind of dark green blue area near the head cavity here, that's absolutely perfect. You want that. Basically, when you put it under the grill, that's going to turn to this bright red colour, and that's where all the flavour is. So now we've prepared the langoustine. We've halved them, taken the head out, scraped off any brown from the tail. We've got our miso butter that we prepared earlier. So using a small spoon, all we want to simply do is to evenly kind of drizzle that over your langoustine tails and a little bit in the head cavity. Just like that. So when it grills, this is going to kind of caramelize a bit, bubble up. It's absolutely beautiful. So now the butter's on top of the langoustines. We're going to put that into a preheated oven. It's been at 200 Celsius for 5 minutes. So now we're going to do the steak preparation for you. So for this, we're going to need an oven tray, a frying pan. You're going to need your steak that's come out of your box. Now, my recommendation is leaving this out of the fridge about an hour before we cook. It's good to have the steak at room temperature. We've got our butter that comes in the box here, our steak seasoning, a spoon for basting, scissors for opening, and a knife for carving. We also need some neutral oil. Now the first thing we're going to do here is turn the stove up to number 9 or up to high on gas, as high as you can go. You want this pan smoking hot. Okay, so we're going to take our steak, take some kitchen paper, put a sheet down on your board, take your steak out of the bag and straight onto your kitchen paper. Take another piece on top and press down. What we're doing is we're drying off the steak, taking any excess moisture. What this is going to do is help us get a really good caramelization on the steak itself. Then we're going to take our steak seasoning, open that up. Loads of lovely spices in this. And what we're going to do is generously season that steak with this seasoning on both sides. You can see that pan is getting lovely and hot, it's starting to smoke. So use all your seasoning, get it all over there. What it's going to do is going to create a lovely crust. It's just flavour. Take some neutral oil into a pan, smoking hot, like so. Be quite generous with it. And then we're going to go steak in the pan. Now be careful when placing the steak in the pan. Place down and face away from you. Now all we're going to do is slightly push our hand down on the steak, making sure all the surface area on the bottom is touching the pan. That's going to get an even caramelization on your steak. Again, we're not shaking the pan, we're not moving the steak around. We're just going to leave it as is and let it caramelize. Now we've got our pot of butter. Now the butter is for basting the steak, so we're going to wait until we turn it over. Now this takes about a minute and a half. If you've got a really good high heat in your pan, it's quicker. Now obviously it's going to take a little bit longer if you've got not a strong stove. So what you do is you get a pair of tongs. We're just going to have a peek just to check the colour. We're going to have a look at that, and that's absolutely beautiful. So all we're going to do is turn that over. Lovely colour on that steak. So now we're just leaving that steak to caramelise. We've turned the steak over now, letting the other side caramelise. At this point, we take our butter. There's 2 cubes in here. Put one at either side of the pan and let it melt, okay? You push the steak to the top of the pan, tilt the pan down, and you're going to start basting the steak, okay? You see the butter will start to foam. On induction, lay it flat again, let that heat build in the pan. Tilt it, baste it. What you're after is for the butter to start foaming. You'll see that starting to appear here in the pan. Tilt that and we baste the steak. So this is adding a lovely nutty flavour to the steak because of the butter, but also because we're basting. Basting it is giving heat from the top whilst heat's coming from the bottom. This is the chefy part to this dish. And now we've basted it, I'm going to take this out onto an oven tray, get some of your butter on top, and now we're going to put that into the oven. Now on your instruction sheet you'll see the times for the temperature of cooking you're going to be doing. So today we're doing medium rare, so we're putting that in for 14 minutes. The oven has been preheated to 200 Celsius. Just like that, we leave our steak in the oven and come back to it in 14 minutes. So now I'm going to show you how to prepare the XO sauce. Super simple. We've prepared it for you in this tub. So carefully open the container. All we're doing is place it into a pot. Now it is quite thick, so what I suggest doing is taking your pot, a little splash of water inside. If you close the lid again, give it a little shake. This way we're not wasting any of the sauce whatsoever. Pop that into your sauce. So we're putting it on a medium heat, and all we're doing is simply warming that slowly. You can use a whisk, a spoon, it's your choice. As simple as that. That's our XO sauce. We'll let that come up to temperature, make sure it's piping hot before serving, and that's it. So now the potatoes have been in the oven for 30 minutes. We're just going to get a kitchen cloth or an oven glove and take them out. They're going to be lovely and golden brown. What I do myself is I take my thumb, I push down on a potato to see if it's soft. If it's soft, it's ready. If you push down on your potato, it's not soft, just leave it in for another 5 minutes to come back to it. Now we're just going to simply put them all into a lovely bowl. So lovely, these are Pierre Kaufmann potatoes. My favourite little new potatoes these are. Any excess butter in the pan, drizzle that on top. The very nutty flavour from the butter now it's been roasted. And that's that. So that is our Seaweed new potatoes. So that's our steak, been in the oven for 14 minutes. I'm going to get that out. What you want to do is you want to feel it. Find the thickest part, have a feel. This is medium rare, so what I'm after for is in my hand, with an open hand. If you feel this part of your thumb, push down. That's sort of same feeling as you want in your steak. Now, if you want like a more medium, thumb and index together, middle finger goes medium well. And there we go, that's well done. So that's the sort of feeling you want for well done. So we've got our steak ready. We get our sauce back on the heat, our XO sauce. So just bring that up. We want that nice and hot for the steaks. We're going to just pop that into our chopping board. So we want to drip off as much of the excess juice as much as possible. Place it on your chopping board. Any excess you have, straight into your sauce. Added flavour. Don't waste anything. That is all flavour in there. So the steak is now out of the oven, resting on our chopping board. You want to rest it there for about 10 minutes before we slice it. So now we've got our XO sauce, steak residue and butter heating up nicely in there. We've got our steak here. So what I recommend is having some kitchen towel, paper towels at the ready on your chopping board. And what we're going to do, once we slice this, we're going to let the kind of blood soak onto the tissue paper before we put it into the bowl. So our steak, using a nice sharp knife, we're going to cut at an angle from the top to the bottom. Don't want to go too thin. Too thin is going to cause too much blood to run out and for it to cool quicker. So you want a nice heat. So that sauce is nice and boiling now. We've cut the steak. We get our paper, lift that steak nice and carefully onto the paper just for a moment. It's going to soak up any residue we have there. Sauce is boiling into a nice sauce jug on the side. Now we take our steak, put it in nicely off the paper, into your bowl. And what to do is just try and open it up slightly to show that kind of lovely colour on your steak. So that's as simple as it gets. That's our steak with XO sauce. I hope you enjoy. Harrow Home, bringing fine dining to your home. Head to our website harrowhome.co.uk.